I don't think that papers have to daunt us as much as we really think. It's just going through one item at a time and determining if this is really that valuable to you anymore. Have you looked at it? Have you needed to? Is there any reason you would need to in the future? And making really quick decisions. So I am just going to pull out several files and get started with this process. I want to start this paper declutter really organized and ready to go. So I just went around the house and got the few cheap, free tools that I think that you might need and I might need to go through our file cabinet and make sure that every single thing is as organized as we really want it to be. So this is what I thought I needed. First off, I expect to recycle a lot of paper. So here is my bag for recycling. I got a few empty file folders so that I can make new folders if I need to, along with some tags for the folders and a Sharpie so I can really see it clearly. And just in case, I have some Post-it notes and a pen in case I need to just label a pile of papers because I'm not sure what file to put them in quite yet. That's it. Let's get started. I'll give you a little sneak peek too. This is our utility closet slash file cabinet closet slash vacuum and extra table closet. We fit a lot in this closet, and I will be shooting a video in just a couple weeks about organizing utility closets slash junk drawers. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you want to see that video. Here's my file cabinet. My husband keeps some teaching lessons in the top two drawers that he no longer uses but didn't want to get rid of yet. We also have these bottom two drawers. These are home papers that have been in here for years and years and years. I guess two drawers isn't really that bad for, I don't know, 10, 15 years worth of papers. I have went through these, but it's been a super long time. So I'd say at least 10 years ago. Some of them I know I'll want to keep, although I do keep the really irreplaceable things like social security numbers and birth certificates in a safe, lock safe, fireproof safe. I don't keep those in the file cabinet, but there are also some important papers in here that should be kept for the long haul. I'll show you what I think those are. I don't know, you might have a few weird files in your file cabinet too. The first file that I pull out is actually an art file. I am an art teacher now, stay-at-home mom. I am keeping up my license, so whenever I come across an art lesson that I think would be really valuable, either for teaching individuals before I go back to work or as I'm in the classroom, I just stick them in this file. Really easy access for me, but sometimes little tools also end up in the file, like sponges and napkins. So might not be the best way to store some of that. It's nice to just stash it and know that it's all together though, so sometimes that's okay. I went through about 10 folders so far. That art folder I ended up divvying up into different lessons, so I have them in different folders now, and I will put them in my under stairway storage, which is where I keep the lessons that I really would love to do someday when I go back to teaching. So it was nice to have a little drop spot that's easy to get to in my file cabinet, and I still do have one file that's labeled art stuff, so I can still do that. But then periodically I'll go through and make sure that it gets into the correct art bin that's a little bit harder to get to. I also found within that some items that I've saved over the years going to professional development classes, and some of those pertain to resumes, which I will need to be filling out in the next year or two. So I'm going to make sure I have a file just for resume, which I think I already do, but I'll make sure that everything is in the one location so it's easy to find. I also have just a few items that I thought were really useful, and I'll make sure those get in my art bin so they can be easy to access when I do begin teaching again. One thing I found odd was, like I told you, I went through these papers maybe 10 years ago or more, and there were even some files within here that were empty. So that's kind of nice. I didn't realize within those two drawers there were so many empty files. Maybe that's not the case for you, but it's nice to know that I didn't just completely fill up those files once I went through it one time. It kind of makes you realize you don't want to fill it up and have to go through it 10 years later. So I think that going through it right now is actually super helpful so that your mind can make better choices about what papers to keep in the future. We have compassion children, which means that we sponsor some children who are in need in different areas in the country. Right now we just have one child. In the past we've had up to 3. We just find it to be a really good company to work with, so I highly recommend that if you are looking to help some people in need. And we get letters from those children throughout the years, and it's really fun to see those letters and read through them. And I made sure that I kept at least one picture from each child we've had and at least one special letter from them. So I don't know that I need to keep the whole entire stack, although it's a little hard to let go of, but I think that I will really take the time to read through 1 or 2 letters from each child rather than the whole stack. Sometimes that's the way to do it, to make a really nice, special, curated file of items that are important to you rather than keeping everything from that category. This is a file that I knew I needed to label better. I am the one who goes through papers. I'm the one who gets things ready for tax season. I'm the one who pays bills. So sometimes things are not labeled that well just because I know exactly where to find it. Now, I had decided a few years ago to make, instead of just sticking the newest tax things within the tax file, I made a current tax file. So it's under C's. That's way up close in the file cabinet. Very easy for me to just drop those current papers that you get that are for this past year. And I know my husband has no idea about this file. So if anything were to happen to me, it would probably take him years to find this. So I have to make sure that it's labeled really well. It's only going to take me 10 seconds to label this thing. It should have been labeled a long time ago. So try to make sure that things are labeled in a really accurate and easy way to see, so that if the worst happens, it will be much easier for people to find what they need. Okay, I'm going to take a little break and make sure that I'm just staying organized here. I know that I have some files here that I want to file or put elsewhere, so I'm just going to label with a post-it note. This is to go in the art bin. This is to go in the resume file. There's a few more for art bin over here, so see, I'm already getting a little bit unorganized. I just want to make sure I'm making piles so that if I do need to step away for a minute, everything's labeled and I can come easily back to it and not wonder what are all these piles about. So I'm going to take a break and do that. Okay, organized again, so I'm going to grab a whole nother pile of files. After this pile, I'll be 2/3 done with that bottom file cabinet. I have a health file here. Some of it is really things that I thought were important at one time, and they truly were. I needed to hold on to them, but that point in my life is no longer here. My husband and I were thinking about in vitro at one time, so there's a lot of information about that. I had some severe neck and back pain for a few years, and thankfully I am mostly healed of that. When I get a little bit stressed, I can feel it again, but other than that, I think that God helped that to go away. Ironically enough, while I was pregnant with my second child, it ended up going away. So that was amazing. I was a little bit worried about getting pregnant because of the back pain, and that was the one thing that got rid of it. So I'm very thankful about that. Don't really need to save these exercises that, sorry to say, didn't really help anyways. I'm finding some x-rays that I had, which seemed like a super important thing to keep, but I know that if I ever have an issue again, they're going to want brand new x-rays, so I don't see why that would be that important to keep, especially since it's been years and years and years. Another thing that I no longer need is my childbirth preparation classes information. It was helpful to go to with my husband, but at the same time I don't think that I pulled these out and looked at them after we took the class, so definitely no need to keep them when we're not planning on having any more kids. Another thing I'm really taking into account when I am going through these papers is the date. If it doesn't look that important, I'll recycle it. If I'm wondering, I'll look at the date. Some of the papers that I think are crucial, I may want to keep for 7 years or less. So mostly that's just tax things. So, but if I really think that it is an important paper and it's within that 7-year mark, I may just keep it because why not? This pile is what's left of the bottom file cabinet. Everything is out of it except for a bunch of empty files. I want to take just a moment to say how grateful I am to be part of this Mega Motivation collaboration. It involves dozens of wonderful organizers, declutterers, minimalists who love YouTube and love to share their encouragement and inspiration with you. So thanks for letting me be a part of this group, ladies, and I hope that you check out the playlist below that has a whole bunch of other videos and other insights on decluttering that paper clutter. I'm back for day 2 of going through my paper clutter. My daughter's been a little sick the last couple days, so I'm just taking this in little spurts. And yesterday I did 38 minutes of a video of just going through papers, so that's all the time I really spent on actually going through the papers. And I left it very organized so I can just jump right back in. I'll show you what categories I have sitting behind me right now. The first pile I have are things that will be going into my art bin in the under stairway storage. This is resume information and different notes that I've taken on interviewing. Here is cards and other things I would like to put in my memory bin. These are some items I just found that I think I could probably sell during my garage sale. Something that I want to add to my safe, it's the appraisal for my wedding ring. And just a binder that needs to go upstairs. So not too many different categories here. It's just very helpful to have these Post-its so that I can keep track and bounce back and forth from taking care of my daughter to going through papers. I don't think that I made a before shot of the bottom drawer, but this drawer is about 2/3 files, and then the back half is about 1/3 of empty files. That's about how the bottom cabinet was too, so we'll see what we can do to declutter this and minimize the amount of papers that we're keeping. These 2 folders are tripping me up just a little bit. This is our first home, and I have basically a whole binder and 2 different folders of mortgage papers. We've refinanced at least once, I think twice. So I don't know if that means I can just get rid of our first mortgage information or not. But I think I'm just going to try to downsize this. This looks like kind of information about buying a home, not necessarily things that we need to keep because of our mortgage. So I think I'll keep the actual mortgage papers and hopefully get rid of some of the rest. Noticing that I have way less papers in this file cabinet than I thought. Several of my files are filled with office type items, like this one is filled with stamps, and I have another one that's filled with file folders, another one that's filled with envelopes, another one that's filled with address labels, so things like that. It's actually a really good way for me to store those since I don't have a lot of room in our desk. And that's been working for me, but less papers for me to really go through too, so that's a win-win. I was able to get rid of that whole folder because it was for my relicensure as a teacher, but it was from 2 relicensures ago, so I definitely don't need any of that. I am down to my last 2 files, and they are filled with warranties and instructions. Every time I get something that I guess costs a little bit of money, I end up putting all of the paperwork in these file folders, and I am getting pretty convinced that I never go back to them. So I am going to be getting rid of most of these. I've completed going through both file drawers, and these are the items that I want to put back in the drawer. Here are just some extra files. Those were my supplies that I was using. We ended up with the art bin pile. I already found the resume folder, so all that stuff went into the resume folder. The memory bin is in my bedroom, so I'll add those to the memory bin. A few more items got added to the garage sale pile. Whenever I find Ziploc type bags that didn't have food in them, I keep them for my garage sale and just stick some little toys in there or something like that. It helps out. And what's that? This goes in the safe again, and that goes upstairs. So not too much was added, I guess. Mostly I added to the garage sale pile with that second file drawer. Here is what I am throwing away. Not too much actually, but some was added, and this bag is extremely heavy with all of the papers I am recycling. I just switched around this entire drawer with this entire drawer because this insert is longer, and I think I want to try to fit all of my things or all of our household things in here. And my husband still has some teaching things that are in a bin that he may want to put in this drawer. So that is my goal. That's kind of what I had in mind when I started this, and I hope that we can accomplish that. And lastly, I have all of the files that I'm keeping right in front of me, and I will be putting them in alphabetical order in my drawer on the bottom. I wanted to let you know what files I actually did end up saving and keeping in this drawer. These are the majority of the household files that are current or things that I just want to keep and have access to. So some of them are a little bit unusual, and maybe that will help some of you find a new home for some of these items that might be in your house too. Okay, here we start with address labels, art stuff, current taxes, Dave, that's my husband's name. So these are just you know, cards or notes that I think maybe he would like to keep, and I just usually go through that stuff quicker than him, so I keep a little file folder for him. We've downloaded a couple escape rooms, and I love those, so we keep that so that maybe in the future we can try them again. And this one is for envelopes, large envelopes. This one is a big one. Just says files, so I keep folders and files in that one. Health, nope, missed one. Files, the clear plastic sheets. And then I have a file for health. History file. This is a lot of the genealogy, kind of history information that I have been passed down from grandparents or parents. Just one important file. This has kind of copies of birth certificates, that kind of stuff, marriage certificates, anything insurance related. A miscellaneous file that seems like they're kind of important things, but just don't have a file for that. I can search in there. Remember, I had these 2 files for mortgage. I'm sure I don't need all that, but I don't know what to get rid of. I ended up taking out one big binder and then also the inspection, and I know that that would not be up to date anymore, so I didn't need to keep that. This is a Bible study that I'm in that I am the treasurer of, so I keep some information for that. And resume for me. This is where I keep stamps for mailing items, and I have a little file here for stickers. Just some stickers that the kids can play with. Seems like the best spot for me to keep it. Also, we have 7 years of taxes here, so they are in the back. Thankfully, I am not keeping any warranties or instructions anymore. That used to fill up the whole back of my cabinet. I was also able to complete my goal of emptying this whole drawer so that it only has empty files and my husband can use it now. I also wanted to show you that I do have one other spot that I keep long-term storage for papers. I tend to keep 7 years worth of receipts, although I am really on the edge of letting most of those go, maybe just keeping 1 or 2 years because I never have had a need to go back to those. But I also keep a binder, and you could just keep a little shoebox or however you want to organize it, of other bills from each year. The reason that I've kept these bills is because in the past, for tax information purposes, I've needed to have these because I've had home businesses and sometimes that is required to have on taxes. So I just want to make sure in case I'm ever audited that I still have that information. So I have 7 binders of past year's bills and 7 envelopes with past year's receipts in it. So that is how I tend to keep the long-term storage of my bills and paperwork. Currently in our guest bedroom we have a couple file cabinets here with those envelopes I was talking about that have receipts from 7 years worth of items that we've purchased, and then the other drawers are filled with binders that show the bills that we had those years. Because I label them with the years, it's very easy to just flip through it, make sure there's nothing that I need to hold on to when that year is more than 7 years out, and I just shred or get rid of all of that information. Lastly, I wanted to show you my new system for when papers come into my house, how I stay organized, make sure I get all those bills paid, and don't lose anything that I may need in the future. So I have this basket that I use. I try not to get the mail, which is in a locked mailbox, until I know for sure I can go through it and make sure that I am getting rid of all the junk mail, saving the bills. If I don't have time to pay the bill right away, which of course is ideal to pay it right away, but if I really can't do that, then I stick it in my to-do section of my basket, and that means that I have something that really needs to be paid or done. Now, if I stuck this away, I would totally forget. So I keep my basket out on my dining room table until I complete that job. That means it's in my way a little bit. Every time I go to set the table, I think, oh yeah, I need to pay that bill. And it really only takes a couple minutes, so I try to get it done as soon as I can. I do have a spot that I tuck it away so that it doesn't have to be visible if I don't have a bill to pay currently. There's also a future reference section, which is in the back, and I can show you a little bit of things that I put in there. I have a folder of my daughter's school information that I may need to look at in the future. I have camp information. She hasn't actually attended camp yet without just a family event, but she's getting older, so we might need that. I have some school photos I haven't done anything with yet. This section, though, is for those papers that if you didn't do anything with, it really wouldn't hurt you. It's not a bill that has a deadline. It's not a credit card that really needs to be canceled soon, right? Things like that need to go into the to-do section. This future reference section is just for those items that you may need to do something with in the future. We have an estimate for something we wanted to get built. We have a grocery list. We have a catalog for Bible studies. So things like that are important to keep, but they don't have to be out on your counter all the time. Keeping them in one section of a basket will help you know exactly where to look if you think you might need those items. I also keep my checkbook, a pen, some envelopes, and some stamps in this little section, so I have everything that I need to pay the bills quickly. If you would like to see the video that I showed all of the details about this basket and how it has really helped keep me organized, I will link to that video above. Thanks for watching, everybody. I know that sometimes we think that paper clutter can be super daunting, and I know sometimes we have to go through a lot more than I did today. But really, all it takes is setting aside some time, trying to be a little bit organized when you start, and just quickly looking at each paper and realizing, do I really ever need this again? Most of those papers we do not. A lot of things you can look up online again if it's really essential that you find that information. And I just encourage you to go through it. Just be brave and try it, and you will be able to declutter a lot of those papers and make much more space in your home and your file cabinet for the things that you really need so that you can find them easily because it's not over-cluttered. Have a great week, everybody, and go ahead and click on some of these videos off to the side so that you can see some more of my organization and decluttering channel.